The fact that you are here today means that God does have a future for you. And there are some keys to your future. There's some keys. There are some keys that you need to have and understand. And I thought I would pick up what those keys are from the Apostle Paul's writings to the church in Philippi. As a matter of fact, Paul writes this letter to them, this epistle to them, while he is in jail himself. Looks like his future has come to an end, but it has not. In fact, the Apostle Paul is not only in a prison, he's in a dungeon. He's in a dreary, drab, dead place. And he writes to this church he helped found to tell them that they had a future. And I believe that the words he said to the Philippian church are appropriate for you and I today. He writes to them, and this church goes on, does great things, casts out demons, gets people delivered. They do great things. Just like you need to know you have a future. There's a future that God has for you. And so I got 3 points, 3 keys that I want to give you today. Here's number 1. It's in verse, I want to read verse number 12 and 13. Well, let me read verse 13, then I'm going to back up to verse 12. Verse 13 says, I do not count myself to have apprehended. That's verse 13. Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended. Verse 12 says, not that I have already attained or am already perfected. And here's what he is saying. He's acknowledging, here's my point, he's acknowledging that he has not arrived. And that's what you need to know. You need to acknowledge the first key is that you have not arrived. You know why that's important? Because the enemy would make you think that when you get to a certain place in life, when you complete your education, when you get that house that you've been dreaming for, when you finally buy the car, when you finally get married, when you finally do whatever it is that you've been hoping to do, the devil would make you think that you have arrived. But I need you to look at your neighbor and say there's still a whole lot more in front of you. You have not arrived yet. You've won some battles, you've gone through some stuff, you've survived some challenges, you've cried your tears and made it through some hell, but you still haven't got to the place that God has for you to go. There is a future for you. Somebody look at your neighbor, tell them you haven't arrived yet. Not that I have attained, nor that I am perfect, Paul says. I have not reached perfection. I have not apprehended. I have not gotten a hold of everything that God has for me yet. You need to get that in your heart and in your mind. You haven't arrived yet. You haven't gotten to the end place. You haven't accomplished everything that God has for you to accomplish. You haven't achieved everything that God has for you to achieve. There is a whole bright future in front of you. Thank all 17 of y'all for that rousing affirmation. I know you may not believe that, and I know some of you are not believing that because you keep looking at what you've gone through. You keep looking at your past, and because of what has happened in your past, you cannot believe that God could possibly have a future for you. That's why in verse number 13, I need to point out verse 13. He says, here's my second point. I'm almost finished. I'm not going to preach long. He says, but one thing, I'm going to finish. I'm going to preach till I get finished. Here's point 2 right here. In verse 13, he says, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind. The second key you need to know is you need to put your past in your past. Somebody look at your neighbor and say, put your past in your past. Forget about what has happened yesterday. Forget about the failures of last year. Forget about what has happened last month and last week. Forget about the failures. Forget about all of those things. You got to leave those things behind. There are some things you need to push them in the background. Stop looking over your shoulder. Stop permitting what somebody said about your yesterdays to determine your decisions for your tomorrow. Stop allowing what you did yesterday to define your future. You got to learn how to say goodbye to your past. Adios, arrivederci. You need to learn how to say to some things, I'm not going to let my past stop me. You got to stop letting what people say about you, think about you, forget about what they ponder about you. You got see, if you let your past dictate your future, that you won't go anywhere. That's why some of you haven't gone anywhere. You keep talking about what happened in your past. I refuse to let my past rule my future. Your past, I think I shared with y'all a few months ago how I was so proud of myself that in my past I had lost 20 pounds. I was so proud. I had lost 20 pounds and I was just bragging on how I was eating right and my blood pressure had come down, and I was so proud of me. But I have since then picked up 25 pounds. I found the 20 pounds that I lost and gained 5 more of their friends to come along with them. You see, the problem is I failed to leave in my past. I failed to let the stuff in my past that was dragging me down stay in my past. I reacquainted myself with Brother Mac. Some people call him the Big Mac. Come on, look at your neighbor, say. Somebody else say he's number one. So he said number one. I reacquainted myself with the fries, the McDonald's fries. I failed to drive past the Golden Arches. I failed to get up and walk every day like I was doing. I was walking 2 or 3 miles every day, but I stopped doing it. I failed to keep doing those things. I let that slow me down. I stopped, and I know I should still be getting up, but I said to myself, I can't walk anymore. It's too cold outside. Come on, talk to me for a second. Even though I have a treadmill in my house, but yet I wasn't willing to walk. But I decided, I made a decision, I wasn't going to let the failures of my past stop me. Yeah. So, last night we celebrated my youngest daughter's 21st birthday. I'm so proud of her. She turned 21 years old, and she finished her college education a semester early. Somebody look at your neighbor. That's $32,000. Hey, hey, hey! So we took her out last night as a family. We took her out to the Longhorn Steakhouse restaurant. So there we are in the Longhorn Steakhouse restaurant, ordering dinner. While I was sitting at the table about to order dinner, when the waiter came over and asked me what I wanted, I'm looking at the menu, and the menu actually started talking to me. On the menu, the steak said, "Pick me." He said, "If you get me done, well done, with some I got juices flowing all over me, put some A1 sauce, you'll like me if you just take me." But another voice said, "You've already failed and messed up, and you don't need to mess with that steak." But yet another voice said, "You done already gained 25 pounds. Why don't you wait and start getting back on the right track tomorrow? Order that steak tonight and recover tomorrow." My failures of my past was talking to me. The fact that I had stopped eating right, my blood pressure had gone back up, and I wasn't walking and exercising. I had stopped drinking water. I had stopped doing all the things that had helped me to lose the 20 pounds. I had pushed them to the side and stopped, but now my failure was talking to me. But everybody in here needs to understand, you can let your failures keep talking to you, or you can make a decision not to let your failures talk to you. And so I said goodbye to my failures. And I'm telling you, say goodbye to your mistakes, say goodbye to your errors, say goodbye to your regrets, say goodbye to your problems and your challenges and your issues and your pains and your drama and your sickness and your sadness and your sins and your debt and your disease and your guilt and your faults. Say goodbye to your failures. I said goodbye to my failures and decided last night at the Longhorn restaurant, steak restaurant, I'm gonna get me a Caesar chicken salad last night. I pushed my failures in the past. Now, I don't know who I'm preaching to, but you got people and places and things and addictions and problems that you've had that have drug you down. And my word from God to you today is you got to forget those things. You got to forget about those things. You got to push those things. Forget those things which are behind. You got to push them in the background and stop letting your past dictate your future. Somebody look at your neighbor, tell them with an attitude and tell them with boldness and courageousness, put your past in your past. Y'all didn't say it loud enough. I didn't hear enough oomph in it. I didn't hear no attitude in it. I'm telling you, you got to forget those things which are behind you. Israel just said it a few minutes ago. I got to push that in the background. If you keep letting your past talk to you, it'll frustrate you and pull you down. Some of you can't move forward because you keep letting your past dictate your future. I don't know who I'm preaching to today, but it's time for you to put your past in your past. So yes, I've started my road. I fell off the bandwagon, but I'm getting back on the bandwagon. I'm starting to eat right. I started last night. Come on, give God a shout with me. I'm getting back on my water drinking trail. In a few weeks, in a few months, I'm going to be a beast standing up here. I'm going to be... I'm telling you, y'all not gonna recognize me. I'm gonna be slim and trim. Say, go, Pastor, I'm gonna be slim and trim. I'm putting my past in the past. I'm putting McDonald's Big Macs in my past. Fries in my past. Y'all excuse me for a second. Apple pies. Do you want a biggie size? All of that's in my past. Twinkies in my past. Come on, holler at me for a second. Zingers in my past. Who am I preaching to today? Some of y'all need to make a list right now of all the stuff in your past